There's a reason we fear the woods at night. It's not just the darkness. It's not the cold, or the silence, or even the howls that echo from miles away. It's the feeling that something's close. Camping is supposed to be peaceful. A break from the world. But once the sun sets, the woods become something else. They stretch out in every direction, endless and unknowable. There are no walls. No neighbors. And if something calls your name out there, no one's coming to help. These are 4 true stories from people who went into the forest expecting fresh air and quiet nights, and came back with something else. So zip up your tent. Keep the fire going. And don't look too hard into the trees. This happened to me and my older brother, Nate, about 5 years ago. We grew up in Oregon, and our families always had this one favorite camping spot, a little clearing off a gravel road inside Deschutes National Forest. It's not marked. No ranger station. You have to know it's there. Which is what made it perfect. That summer, our parents were visiting relatives out of state, so Nate and I decided to camp out there by ourselves. Just 2 nights. Nothing crazy. We packed light, tent, sleeping bags, snacks, and a small cooler. No phones, no distractions. Just the woods and a fire. The first night was normal. We set up before sundown, cooked dinner, made jokes, passed out by midnight. But around 3:30 a.m., I woke up to a sound I'll never forget. It was whispering. Not loud. Not urgent. Just soft, circling the tent. I held my breath and listened. At first, I thought it was Nate talking in his sleep. But the whispers kept moving. They would fade to one side of the tent, then pick up again on the other. I couldn't make out the words. It sounded like more than one person, 2, maybe 3. All of them whispering at the same time, like a conversation, but not quite in sync. I whispered to Nate, "Do you hear that?" No response. He was dead asleep. I didn't move. I just lay there, staring at the fabric of the tent like it could protect me from whatever was out there. Eventually, the sound stopped. I must have fallen back asleep, because the next thing I remember was daylight. I asked Nate if he'd heard anything weird. He just laughed and said I probably dreamed it. But then, we stepped outside. Right behind the tent, just a few feet away, stood a tree. Nothing unusual at first glance. But as I got closer, I noticed something carved into the bark. Our names. Mine and Nate's. Not fresh carvings either. They looked old, like they'd been there for years. The wood around the letters had started to regrow, curling around our names like the tree was trying to bury them. We'd camped in that exact spot dozens of times. That tree was always there. And I swear to you, those carvings had never been there before. The eyes that didn't blink. I've always liked solo hiking. There's something calming about not having to talk, not having to plan around anyone else. Just you, the trail, and the trees. This happened when I was doing a 3-day solo trip through part of the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest in Washington. I picked a spot off a lesser-used trail, set up camp before sunset, and had everything ready for a quiet night under the stars. The first night was uneventful. But on the second night, things changed. I was sitting by my little campfire, reading a book, when I got that feeling, the one where the hairs on your neck stand up before you even know why. I looked up. Just beyond the light of the fire, maybe 30 feet into the woods, were 2 eyes. Not glowing like animal eyes in the firelight. Just reflecting. Perfectly still. Perfectly level. No blinking. No movement. No sound. At first, I figured it was a deer. But the eyes didn't bob or flinch. They just stared. I called out. Nothing. I threw a small stick toward the trees. Still nothing. Eventually, I put out the fire and zipped myself into the tent, trying to ignore it. I left the flashlight on all night. The next day, I chalked it up to my imagination, or maybe some raccoon or animal just being weird, and went about my hike. Set up camp again, farther up the trail. That night, they were back. Same eyes. Same distance. Same complete stillness. This time, I didn't call out. I just sat there, frozen, watching them. I thought about taking a picture, but something about lifting my phone felt wrong. Like it would acknowledge something I didn't want to be real. Again, the moment I went into the tent and zipped up, I couldn't see them anymore. I lay there for hours, waiting to hear movement. But there was none. On the third night, I reached the last campsite, closer to the trailhead. I thought maybe it was over. I was wrong. Just as the sun dropped, I turned around to grab something from the car, and I saw them again. Only this time, they were reflected in the car window, right behind me. I spun around, heart in my throat, but there was nothing there. No footsteps. No rustling. Just cold air and trees that were suddenly too quiet. I didn't stay the night. I packed up and drove straight home. Haven't gone camping alone since. The man in the campsite that wasn't there. This happened during a group camping trip about 2 years ago. There were 5 of us, old high school friends doing one of those "we should all catch up" kind of weekends. We chose a spot in the Allegheny National Forest in Pennsylvania. Remote, peaceful, beautiful during the fall. We set up 2 tents near the tree line, and just past the clearing, maybe 100 yards away, was another campsite, small, tucked into the woods. We noticed it as the sun was going down. There was a man there. Alone. Looked to be in his 50s, maybe older. He was sitting on a log near a fire pit, cooking something in a small pan. At first, we waved. He waved back. Nothing creepy about it. But there was something off. None of us saw a car. Or a tent. Or even a backpack. Just the fire, the man, and that pan. He didn't say anything. Didn't come over. Just kept tending his fire, slowly. The next morning, we didn't see any smoke. So we figured we'd go over, say hi, maybe offer him some coffee. Just a friendly gesture. But when we got there, it was empty. Like completely empty. No fire pit. No pan. No logs arranged into seating. No signs anyone had ever camped there. The grass where we thought we saw the fire was tall, dry, and unburnt. No ashes. No disturbed earth. No boot prints. Just silence. We stood there trying to make sense of it. Someone joked maybe we'd all had a group hallucination, but we all described the same man. Same spot. Same behavior. We even remembered him waving. The weirdest part? As we turned to head back, I saw something glinting behind one of the trees. An old, cracked hiking boot. Faded and caked with mud. We left it there. That night, we couldn't stop talking about it. Just trying to make sense of what we'd seen. The day we packed up to leave, we stopped at a ranger station on the way out to tell someone what happened. We didn't expect anything. But the ranger asked us to describe the man. As soon as we did, he got quiet. Reached under the counter. Pulled out a missing persons bulletin. The photo was old. Blurry. But it was him. The man from the other campsite. Reported missing in 1996. We found a shack, and it found us back. This happened to me and my girlfriend last fall, in the Appalachians. We'd been dating for a couple years, and we both loved getting off-grid. So we planned a 4-day backpacking loop through a lesser-known section of the trail. Nothing dangerous, just remote. Exactly what we wanted. The first 2 days were perfect. Hikes through golden trees, cold creeks, campfire dinners. But on the 3rd day, while looking for a flat clearing to set up camp, we saw something through the trees. At first, I thought it was just another outcropping of rock or a weird dead tree. But as we got closer, we realized it was a structure. A shack. Small. Maybe the size of a garden shed. Covered in moss and tangled vines, with old boards nailed haphazardly across the door. No windows. No signs anyone had been there recently. Except, there were objects around it. Animal bones. Dozens of them. Arranged in weird little circles and piles, like someone had deliberately placed them there. Tied to sticks. Hung on twine. And little trinkets too, buttons, broken doll heads, bits of glass. We didn't go inside. Obviously. We got that feeling. That heavy, wordless feeling in your chest that tells you not to be somewhere. So we left. Hiked a good mile past it before setting up camp. That night started off quiet. Too quiet. No insects. No wind. No usual forest sounds. Just the crackling fire and our breath. Then, around midnight, we heard it. Knocking. Rhythmic. Slow. Not right on the tent, just beyond the edge of our sight. Like it was on wood. And then, a voice. Whispering both of our names. Not yelling. Not asking. Just repeating. Over and over. We didn't move. We just sat frozen in our sleeping bags, staring at each other in the dark. When it finally stopped, we didn't sleep. We waited until sunrise, packed everything, and bolted. But we couldn't leave right away. We had to pass back near the shack on our way to the car. We kept our distance, but the door was open now. Not swung open, just ajar, like something had left in a hurry. Against every instinct, I walked a little closer. Just enough to peek inside. There was nothing in there. Except a single torn sleeping bag. And a phone. A phone that wasn't ours. I picked it up. The screen was cracked. Battery almost dead. But I tapped the gallery. There were 5 photos. All taken in the dark. All of us. Sleeping in our tent. From the outside. There's a reason we build houses. Walls. Locks. Doors. Out there, beneath the trees, none of that matters. The woods don't care who you are, how prepared you feel, or how many times you've camped without trouble. Because once you're deep enough in, you're just another animal. And for every tent you see, for every campfire you light, there are 100 places in the dark where something, or someone, is watching back. These 4 stories came from different people, in different forests, in different years. But they all have one thing in common. At some point, each one realized they weren't alone. We like to think of nature as peaceful, as healing, as something pure. And most of the time, it is. But peace is just the surface. Beneath that, beneath the leaves and the stillness, there are things we don't understand. Old paths no one walks anymore. Cabins that weren't built by anyone still alive. Eyes that don't belong to any animal in the guidebooks. The deeper you go, the more the rules fade. You're not on your turf anymore. You're on theirs. And whatever they are, they don't always want you there. Sometimes they just watch. Other times they follow. And every once in a while, they leave something behind to remind you that you were never really alone. Have you ever heard something outside your tent that shouldn't have been there? Seen something between the trees that vanished when you looked twice? Or woken up with the feeling that someone, or something, had been near you during the night? If you've had a strange experience while camping, no matter how small, leave it in the comments. Your story might help someone else realize they weren't imagining it. More real stories are coming soon. Until then, if you're heading out into the woods, don't stray from the trail. Don't answer voices after dark. And if you wake up to find your tent's zipper open, don't check who or what unzipped it. Stay warm. Stay quiet. And don't forget to look behind you before you turn off the light.